Alright, g'day guys and welcome back to another episode. So, I feel like I've been a bit slack on the whole making videos and filming and that sort of stuff lately, and that's probably for a couple of reasons. One, I've been a little bit just sort of unmotivated about it, and the other is that like it's sort of this bit of a crossroads, I wouldn't say crossroads, like a bit of an internal battle with YouTube, like me personally, that I really enjoy sharing information with people and sort of like teaching people stuff. I've fished for a long time and feel like I have quite a bit of information to sort of share and knowledge to sort of pass on to people, but at the same time I find myself getting the shits really easily with people that are just watching videos and commenting on videos and that sort of stuff purely for like where somewhere is. Like it's just a spot poaching. Like we put a lot of time and effort into finding fish and finding spots and that sort of stuff over the years, and as much as I would like to bring that to YouTube and show people because they're wicked adventures and they're cool fish to catch, yeah, I find myself like getting seriously frustrated with people that are literally watching, skipping through a video to find out where somewhere is and then boasting and bailing and going out and like not going and having a crack themselves, but like just not going through the process of like figuring stuff out for themselves. So that's my bit of a rant anyway. And it sort of came to a head. I had a comment on a video the other week that I know I should just pass off, but old mate was like, not subscribing because you didn't say where it is and it pisses me off, and I was like, righto mate. Anyway, but yeah. Yeah, so what I thought I'd do is I really like doing the gear review videos and that sort of stuff. And people tend to watch them, to be fair, like gear reviews and unboxings and stuff more than the fishing content anyway. So I figured I'd do a bit of a run through. You might have seen in other videos, I've done my garage up as a bit of a like man cave tackle room sort of thing. And what I thought I'd do is a bit of a run through on tackle storage, like what I keep specific lures in, how I keep them in here, and what I actually take them in the boat, because I sort of, like I said, I've done it for a long time and I feel like I've been through a lot of different tackle trays and tackle boxes to try and work out what works and what works really efficiently for different lures. And I think I've got the system pretty sorted now, so I figured I could pass a little bit of that information on, and if it's helpful to people, it's helpful, and if it's not, then keep doing what you're doing. So I guess I'll start with the boxes and then I'll move on to what I put it all in the boat. So as you can see, I've got sort of a wall line with a bit of pegboard here, and can put, like I've set it up to put the size boxes that I use up, and then I've just got big lures and cool lures on the wall behind me. So what I tend to do is I leave the boxes set up probably more species and lure specific than anything else. So the two that I'm used more than anything are these fellas. So they're the Versus 3020, yeah, 3020 NDDM. So that's probably got something to do with depth or something, I don't know. But anyway, so I run, what's that, 5 of them with various stuff in them, and then one slightly smaller one, so the 3010. And I got them set up, like I say, with different lures. So I've got one that's set up as pretty much like a scope box. So that fella there's got all barramundi lures in it, stuff that I fish a lot on live scope. So I've got all that there in a grab box, so I know that I'm going up to the dam to chase barra ball and I can chuck that in. Got one that's full of molluxes and 3D busters. I might put some cut-ins with my phone of like what's in these boxes, but yeah, one that's later than that, I leave the 3D busters, so the molluxes in their little plastic houses, just to keep the tail straight and that sort of stuff. The 3D busters, they seem to be pretty fine. They've lasted for a while in there now. We've got a few of them that are just straight out of the box, and a few that are rigged up with the 2 trebles and the fins cut and that sort of stuff. So if I need to just tie one on and go, I can. Otherwise, I've got some there that I can do up if I've got time sitting on the dam or whatever. The other two are, again, pretty barramundi focused, but Xeric live mullets and like barra spec jig heads. So I just didn't want to put the mullets in another box with other plastics, because if they melt, then they sort of all go to shit. And then big jig heads, it was just sort of, they're a bit cumbersome to put in the other jig head box I use, and they work quite well in here. Most of them are in packets, but there's a couple that are out and about. And then the other ones, got like a cod grab box, so if I'm just going sort of walking a banker in the kayak, chuck that in the backpack. Just got some swim baits, glide baits, bigger crankbaits, that sort of stuff for cod, and a couple of spinner baits. And this one's just sort of my bass free for all box. So there's top waters, there's glide baits, there's jerk baits, there's chatter baits, there's a bit of everything in there. I'll give it one a run over on my phone, but that's probably the one if I'm going to Barumba or going out in the yak or anything like that. It's just an easy one. I'll grab that, throw in the backpack, know that pretty well everything I'm going to need lure wise is in there, and all I've got to chuck in is like leader, scissors and a pair of pliers. But I find them really, really good for loading up with gear like that. And then the little one's just got hollow belly, like frogs and rats in it. God stuff. The other one that I use predominantly is these fellas, the big Planos. So I've got a, what are they, 3741, and then I think they're a 3740, yeah. So just the fat and the narrow ones basically. So that fella's just full of gigantral, gantral, chibotril. That's all that's in that box. The other one I grabbed like a random assortment of just like everything. So there's, yeah, literally everything. Crankbaits, jerkbaits, big top waters, rats, snakes. Pretty much everything else that I don't have like a specific home for lives in that box. One that's got paddle tail plastics in it. A jerkbait one, so all different size jerkbaits. A glide bait box, so there's, we've got ES flats in there, night owl glides, whiting glides, a couple of bony swims, yeah, a few other random odds and ends. And then the other one is mainly more Murray cod stuff, so bigger cod top waters, a couple more gantrels and chibotrils, like I need any more of them, but yeah, that sort of stuff in there. And I find that any of these baits that have got a soft tail on them, like a ganty or something like that, I take out and put in a snap-off bag. I've just got this like wild fear of blowing out tails on baits, like having them sit awkward in a box, like folded, or going with a plastic that doesn't agree with it and melting it. It's just such a waste. Like, you might get two tails with it, but if you stuff them up, then like the lures just don't seem to swim anywhere near as well. And that's half the reason I store those big baits on the wall too, is that like I've got the fear of busting the tails on them. Like you get something like a mood eye, like a $500 bait, you throw something like that in a box and it gets all warped and stuff. There's no way you're replacing the tail on that. It's game over. Same with like the evergreen rats and DRTs and that sort of stuff. Like, a bit funny with them, but I tend to hang them on the wall, and if I know I'm doing a trip, I'll take the tail off them if possible and do the same thing, put them in there. But yeah, they seem to work really well for me. And the main reason I run them, hopefully you can still hear all this, main reason I run them is because of the big boat box I put them in, so I'll come into that in a sec. The only other ones I use, these are still Versus, but the slip foams, so they do a narrow one and a deep one. I use the narrow one for, I've got one for micro jigs, one for soft vibes, smaller top waters for like a brim box if I just take the kayak out. That's just like one of the jig head boxes. So I find them really good for smaller jig heads. Like I say, the barra ones are in there, but smaller jig heads I keep in there, and that'll cover everything like dew, bass, trevally, snapper, all that sort of stuff. It's pretty easy to fit a wide variety of jig heads in there, and it tends to work pretty well. Just try and be mindful to wash them before you put them back in. Don't be lazy and end up with shit like that, rusty hooks. Don't know why I do that, but yeah. But that's the 3020 NS, and then they do 3020 NDDM, and I find this really good for prawns, as you can see. So all loaded up. They're all like Xeric cherubins. I don't know if I've got any live shrimps in there, but yeah, all cherubins in that, and they just lock in there. That main hook sits straight in the foam, but it just keeps the tail straight. There's a glow bead stuck in there. Keeps the tails nice and straight, stops them from getting all wonky and that sort of stuff. Same thing, like you chuck them in the water, they're wonky and they just sort of want to lean and that sort of thing, but that tends to keep them pretty straight. Just put them in there so they're long enough that the tails sit flat, and yeah, it does the trick. But you spend a lot of money on lures, so you might as well keep them decent. And then, like I say, the reason I put them in those specific boxes is because of this thing. So make sure that's in view. But that's what I run as a boat box. I'll get better footage of this, but this one's from Anaconda. So it's just like a soft esky. It's got a hard lining in it, but it's got pockets that fit pretty well everything you need when you go in the boat. So the side ones, I run a box full of trebles. So everything from like, I think there's like 2.0s through to like size 6s in there maybe. Mainly big stuff for black barra and Murray cod and whatever, but yeah, I do have a variety of stuff in there. That's really easy. Slots in the side. Got other bits and pieces in those side ones, a bit of electrical tape, a knife, sharpener, little shifter, just stuff that's handy to have in the boat. But the compartments are really good because like the front one are on pliers, scissors, little splitty pliers and a little blowtorch. And then I know that if I use them, I put them back in there and they're always there. You don't go then scrambling around the boat going, oh, where's this? Oh, I forgot scissors, I forgot pliers, whatever. You do that and know it's all in there, it's easy. There's a pocket behind it. I'll just put leader in that one. There's a heap in here at the moment from the weekend, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls of leader in there. I could probably fit another 3. Why you'd need 8 rolls of leader on a trip, I don't know, but yeah, easy place to put leader. Another one of those little soft pockets on the other side that's got like sunscreen, scent, paw ointment for the scope pole, like for the ball on the scope pole to stop it from getting squeaky. And then inside it, those boxes, oh, there's a couple of packs of plastics in here, move them. But those boxes fit really well. So I can stack like 2 of the big ones and 2 of these fellas in on top, or I can put just 1 and some other bits and pieces. My GoPro box or whatever will fit in there. Something like that. Can chuck my GoPro box in there, just keep it all in one spot. And then when I'm out in the boat, I don't have stuff spread absolutely everywhere. I know it's all in that bag. I can put it in my car. When I get to the ramp, I can chuck that in the boat and I know I've got everything I need tackle-wise. So, yeah, I found that really, really handy. I've run that for a couple of years now. It's sort of starting to see the effects of spending so much time in the sun and then it is getting flogged to pieces. But I think I paid $59 for it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So for that sort of coin, it's done really well. It's just a June 4-wheel drive one, like I say, from Anaconda. I know Aldi did one that was pretty much identical but blue. There's a few other mobs that do them, but yeah, that's been really, really good. So highly recommend if you're sort of someone that takes gear in and out of the boat all the time rather than leaving it in hatches. I found that to be really handy, and it fits in the back of the kayak too. So yeah. The only other thing I really do in here is like if I've got rigged plastics, I'll leave them hung up instead of taking a jig head out of them, or like I say, put them in a tray and they get warped and whatever. I tend to just hang them up. And if I'm taking them, I can put them on top of the boxes when I put them in there. Same thing, swim jigs. Yeah, that's about it. I've got hung up there on big GT lures. Sorry, nearly choked to death. Yeah, the only other thing that I do in here that sort of helps with storage and whatever is I had a couple of big boxes. Put it on my phone. I had a couple of big boxes underneath here that have just got, like I keep something like that. It's got big plastics in it, so that's got like big Mad Drafts, big BY Capsies, Irukandji Sicarios, big RT shads, that sort of stuff. Keep all of that in there. Another one that's full of like pulp prawns and shrimp plastics and that sort of stuff. And then there's another one under there that's got like shad style plastics and that sort of thing. I find it's easy to just keep them all in that, and then when I'm going somewhere, again, grab the specific ones out that I'm after and then chuck them in that big bag. So I might have 5 or 6 packets of plastics laying around in that big box as well, but because everything else is sort of split up into how I want it, it still keeps it nice and tidy and easy to get to. Yeah, that's about it really. I don't think there's too much else that I need to put in there. But like I say, I've done it for a long time, been through a lot of tackle boxes. I used to run the big Versus boxes, like the dual layer ones. The standard, like just your clear plastic, there's probably one floating around here somewhere. Maybe not. Just like your clear plastic tackle trays with all the dividers, used them. And I just found that I was constantly chopping and changing lures, or stuff was sort of getting really, really badly tangled in it. Not that it doesn't in that, but I can just fit so much in there. Yeah, these seem to be the ones that have worked the best for me. Fit the lures in that I like to use, and yeah, seems to be handy to fit in that big bag. So hopefully you got something out of that, a little bit of information. Most of them are available in like all your standard tackle shops, so none of them are really hard to get, which is handy. But yeah, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments, I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching the videos as always, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.